Well, let's get into game number 2. I kind of agree with Toli here. I'm not sure if the draft needs to change. Now, it didn't spell the loss of the game, but by no means can you absolutely watch yourself get invaded. I would have loved to see a different play there. I would have loved to see a different play on the enemy gold tree when Zapman basically just soloed it out. I don't think they needed to be zoned that hard. I think they could have found their way in, but a little bit timid on the call, and felt like they were.
And with that first victory, SpaceStation are now going to be in that second pick with Gatekeepers selecting for the first pick. They're leaving hell open right now. Freya's available as well. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that potentially early on.
For the Hunter?
Yes, potentially for DayToRemeber. Unless he wants to still stick with that physical Hunter, Chronos is not a bad option. You're covering all options between aggression and defensive options.
Well, the bans come out pretty almost exactly what we saw last time, except trade the Ganesha for the Terra. Again, Gatekeepers with the first pick. They're banning out the Terra this time around, and with that first selection, curious to where they go, honestly.
Ganesha. Oh, I thought it was the Ganesha.
I thought it was going to be the Ganesha as well.
If you're banning Terra, why would you ban Terra unless you're going to go for that Ganesha? Because Chulainn is going to be that first pick. MandoWarrior did a good job with that one ultimate. After the fact, though, he didn't really respect the late game damage out of both andinster and Zapman. He took a spill twice in the late game that didn't really need to happen, but at that point, they were just running away with Fire Giant anyway. I think
Gatekeepers might have thought that Ganesh would have made it to the round 2 over here. SpaceStation Gaming, understanding that that's Pain's want to play character, go ahead and take it. Grave will be on the Nemesis one more time. Ho-Yi, the choice across the way for SpaceStation. So that dual lane will be Ganesh and Ho-Yi for SpaceStation Gaming. Gatekeepers, they're going to take that soul. I think that's a very important choice. And of course, what we were talking about, the stripping of the towers, take that away from SSG.
And the fact that there's no Fafnir on the board for SpaceStation, I don't necessarily think that they were going to go for the soul anyway.
Right.
So I think it's more about Gatekeepers wanting it in their hands, maybe than stripping it away from andinster. And Ganesh Ho-Yi is such a strong push combination here, just amplifying the damage. It's not going to be easy for Gatekeepers between PainDeViande and DayToRemeber to hold that lane.
SpaceStation Gaming in round 2 of the bans, focusing again on PainDeViande specific supports. Kumbhakarna and Athena are PainDeViande specific supports. Love to see that attention to detail there. And meanwhile, the Gatekeepers ban out the Osiris, but also the Thor. Saying, all right, homie, we see you on the Thor. We see you on the Zats. Bring us the Naja.
It's all about the setup for the Scylla. They took away one setup with the Thor, but Naja can set up pretty well as well. Not to mention, he does a lot of damage.
Yeah, Naja is going to be able to take player out of the game for a while. Love that solution. Amaterasu will be another choice for the Gatekeepers. So it looks like we might see a support Amaterasu. It's all possible as Chronos is the last selection. So, very interesting draft. 2
magical hunters for Gatekeepers without a Faf. Normally whenever you run that kind of composition between in-hand gods, you want to get that coerce online, but just 2 physical heavy loaded in the front line with 2 magical hunters in the back. There's going to need to be some mid-game rotations here from this Amaterasu. Now, it makes sense here to me because you're having mobility for Amaterasu's aura, and then as long as you get a Shogun's Kusari, now you're augmenting the attack speed anyway, so that could be the play for Gatekeepers.
Gatekeepers keeping it interesting as always. SpaceStation Gaming with their first victory. Curious to see. Yeah, we will be seeing the Amaterasu support again. PainDeViande sort of operates on his own time, and I like that. I think that's important. I think that's important for any team, honestly. Blindly playing the meta doesn't win you championships. It wins you games.
And I think the idea here is just to fight fire with fire. Ganesh is one of the strongest level 1 pushers that you can have, but Amaterasu will just kill you at level 1 instead.
Yeah, aiming isn't exactly the best at clearing the wave, but will clear you out of the battleground pretty easily. DayToRemeber on the Chronos and ManRay on the Soul. So again, we'll see that mid lane Soul character. And the Homiefe on the Naja. This is one of the throwback picks, I think, for Homiefe. Really proving himself on this character once upon a time, and this is what I wanted to see, Anatoly. Really play the Thor sort of as like training wheels. Get yourself back into position, and now, okay, homie, carry us, because Naja, that's a carry character.
Already, he's making the rotation as Pain and Jigz in that mid lane. Andinster stacking up his Soulstone before he throws out that Crush. In the solo lane, MandoWarrior taking a little bit of damage. A scary D now. Ooh, that was actually really scary here. Early Relic for MandoWarrior. I think that was a horrific emblem that was used, trying to slow the mobility, making sure that MandoWarrior was going to get under his own tier 1 tower safely, because Gatekeeper still had to deal with 3 archers.
SpaceStation able to go ahead and make the invade successfully.
This is not good. Oh, I thought they were going to commit there. I guess
the
the
rings
ring
on
bounces,
cooldown from the camp.
Ring bounces were not available for Scary D. If that was, then it was surely ring bounces into stun. No horrific emblem this time for MandoWarrior to escape under safety. However, Grave walks away with a speed buff, so SpaceStation, despite invading the blue, don't affect Grave on top of it. However, 2 more buffs for SpaceStation on the right.
And that's all going to lead into the a very important gold lead right now. Little bit by bit. Don't forget, at 5 minutes last game, SSG was up by about 1,000 gold. Only half of that coming from First Blood. So their repeated jungle invades certainly add up.
Left side though, Zapman versus DayToRemeber. Zap being aggressive as DayToRemeber forced out into his own tier 1 tower. Beads even being used by Zapman offensively just to secure 1 or 2 more in-hands.
That's what you've got to come to expect. MandoWarrior gonna miss a stun onto Scary D. Homiefe still in this lane, as is Grave. Ring bounce just clearing. Such high clear coming out from Naja early on.
It's also augmented by Scary D here, trying to look for a little bit of place here. Now, if Naja can find the clear here, then Scary D can find the cleanup with that Mink form. The Fatalis effect will easily chase down everybody. However, SpaceStation, they don't want to commit to kills quite yet. They still have to deal with these 2 buffs, already getting their own blue. Now, speed buff is the last one.
SPL GateKeepers playing offensively here. Looking for the speed invade, but Graves the one that's going to get in trouble. Beads used to avoid some of the nonsense out of Naja, but now MandoWarrior looking for Naja himself. Homiefe relatively low. Graves still poking his nose in this team fight, and the rotation of the SpaceStation Gaming could prove fruitful.
Jigz and andinster are here. Knock up onto PainDeViande. The silence is good. Naja stash as well, barely dashing away.
He got out of there, but he's still followed up by a member of SpaceStation Gaming. PainDeViande safe and sound after all of that. Does not deserve to be, but a well-played team fight by SPL GateKeepers. Scary D puts forward. Pain is still here. Grave takes him out. Wonderful persistence. SPL GateKeepers first on the board.
Scary D got baited. MandoWarrior baiting himself perfectly, recognizing that he was about to transform into that rage. He used his escape in the normal human stance, and then once he transformed, now he has another escape and a root. Scary D just got baited.
Just understanding, one of the things that impresses me about high-level players, Anatoly, is the understanding of just how safe or unsafe you are at all moments in time. Watching pro players in the yellow or the red of their HP bar stick around is always one of those like nerve-wracking, nail-biting moments. Grave stayed there for, in my opinion, way too long. But then we see what happens for him sticking around too long.
Scary D's taking along a little bit too long as well, because Grave is right around the corner, finding one in hand, but not wanting to commit too hard quite yet. Not able to dive this, but Pain, he knows he can dive this sitting at level 5, but does he know about these rotations?
He's got the dash, no problem. Another player that found himself very low. And that's really what got the first blood for SPL GateKeepers. Again, going back to the assessment of danger. All of these players stuck around, quote-unquote, too long, but that wound up being the bait necessary to confirm the kill.
And finally, Gatekeepers are going to be able to grab their own buffs. No blue buff being stripped away from MandoWarrior this time on the first respawn. Andinster and Jigz trying to secure those right side mid-harpies. Looks like they did go for SpaceStation's side.
Yep.
They slowly built about a 300 gold lead, despite Gatekeepers getting the first blood.
MandoWarrior in the sky, likely to fall as soon as he hits the ground, and he does. Homiefe answers back with a kill of his own, so both junglers now with one in the kill column.
Very difficult to handle Naja ganks whenever you don't have the necessary protections or the relics. Going for a horrific emblem doesn't give you the same effects that a shell would potentially. If you shell right before that Naja ultimate happens, you're going to be buying yourself a lot of time once you come landing down. But going for the horrific emblem shows that MandoWarrior's thinking about locking down Scary D after he uses the Mink form. Now, you can't really stop his Fatalis effect. However, you can just slow him down.
Yeah. Horrific Emblem is almost more of an offensive ability than a defensive ability in my eyes, at least at level 1. Level 2, it just destroys the enemy's damage, but being able to slow players down and look for the kill, very important. Zapman shows up, ult for ult. Now the boxing is on. There's a nice hit out of the ricochet. Zapman just chasing DayToRemeber out of lane. 2 levels, Day's senior. So Z-Man able to make it happen here so far in game number 2.
It's a little bit of a longer cooldown also for DayToRemeber to be able to bounce back into that one, trading ulti for ulti, favoring Zapman quite heavily there, both with red buff. However, a level 9 Hu Yi is a lot more dangerous than level 7 Chronos. Now freezing the lane. Zapman really trying to extend this level lead any way that he can.
And I love it. In my opinion, we don't see this enough. Why do pro players not always go for the lane freeze?
It depends on what else is available in the map. If we look at the jungle side on the left, the red, purple, and back harpies are down for Zap Oracles and left mid harpies. There's nothing for him to farm, so he might as well just wait here anyway. And if he could strip away 3 melee worth of experience, that could be the difference between being 2 levels ahead or maybe 3 levels ahead.
Zapman gonna head back to base here after stripping that and finishing up his Devo gloves 100%, so he'll be able to begin stacking, which should give him a leg up versus the Chronos in these early phases. A couple of levels later, Chronos might take that lead away just by nature of being a mage, but for now, the advantage, lies in Zapman's camp.
In terms of the damage and sustain, I would have to agree with you, but he negated finishing off the Tabai before getting those Devo gloves online. Crave gonna get knocked up by Jigz. Great defensive peel, making sure that andinster was gonna be safe and rotating. And we were talking about that Hunter v Hunter matchup there. The lack of mobility from Zapman now with only tier 2 boots means that he has to be a little careful unless he has his whole team behind his back.
Crave in trouble, stunned out, walking through the suns, dashes through, and there's a little bit of help from Jigz. Still no kill out of the jungler. PainDeViande able to stun out Zapman, forcing out the beads. Ultimate from Homiefe, get a whiff! And now it's all on. SpaceStation Gaming on the retreat. SPL GateKeepers trying to find the kill, and that's going to be PainDeViande front and center. Homiefe ring toss, basic after the sash. Kill confirmed.
And that was only a level 8 Naja. Imagine those ring bounces were actually maxed out. Naja onto Homiefe. This is a Homiefe that's no fear. He misses the ultimate. Slight lack of execution. The idea mindset was there, but the fact that he still doesn't have ultimate, but he has the presence of mind. He's like, all right, this is still gonna absolutely
totally
melt everyone if I connect this. No fear, no hesitation. Homiefe making a huge play, connecting on those ring bounces.
Yeah, this is like I said. I mean, this is what people have been waiting for. An entire split during the summer. I think that Homiefe, he wasn't terrible, but he wasn't the Homiefe that we know. He wasn't Homiezots. They're still banning it against him, but just in case. But as I said, that Thor game that we saw in game number 1 felt like, guys, I think I'm on. Let me play Thor, get some training wheels, and now unleash the beast.
I mean, it might not be the homie Zots, but it might be the homie Ja, as long as he continues making plays like that happen. MandoWarrior forced to use the ultimate, trying to find some return damage, transforms into the beast, finds the root, finds the stun, uses the other ultimate, and here comes PainDeViande to clean up with the grave.
Love it. Just MandoWarrior, all the confidence in the world, not just in himself, but in his team as well. That's what gets SPLG here, and why they've been relatively successful. I like to watch this team play, Anatoly.
Oh, Homiefe, I don't think he wanted to connect onto that ultimate. He wanted to get a little bit closer just to find the stun potentially. Nice root into the crush, onto Grave, taking a lot of damage. Even forced to use that ultimate there a little prematurely without any real setup for andinster.
I don't have a problem with either of those quote-unquote wasted ultimates. I think you hit the nail on the head. Homiefe didn't use that ultimate. He used it as catch-up mechanic just for the dash. Now here he might be in some trouble without having that dash available.
And the thing is, as long as PainDeViande is there with his mobility aura, this is the reasoning why Gatekeepers are so aggressive now. They're using this movement speed, trying to take advantage of no ultimate from Homie, no ultimate from andinster. That's a huge lack of burst damage on SpaceStation sides that Gatekeepers are looking for plays.
Gold's Fury, should that be the call with those ultimates down?
It's going to be a play on right side just for a little bit of poke. It got into Scary D into a little bit of trouble earlier on, but this time with everyone making these rotations on left, we're not seeing that commit this time around.
Zapman backed. With Zapman backing to base the ultimate from Homie and Andy, more importantly, Andy on cooldown, I would have liked to see SPL go for the Gold Fury, but I think that's a case of we get to see all the knowledge, and they don't have that.
If Homiefe is there alone, the ring bounces are too scary. With or without his ultimate, we saw what he was able to do with it at level 8. Now he's sitting at level 11, having the tier 2, maybe Brawlers, maybe Jotun's Wrath. We don't really know where path he's going for quite yet, but that ability, you pair that up with a Root Crush, that is going to melt everyone from Gatekeepers.
Now, if you have a Hunter instead of a Chronos, I think you go for that play, because he's able to start the Gold Fury a little bit earlier. One of the bigger changes here again. Gold Fury Vision goes to SPL Gatekeepers for I think that's the first time that we've seen Oracles not split this game. We saw Day toss out a couple of time rifts, able to snatch at least one away. Nice play by DayToRemeber, who, you know, we don't really talk about the Hunters relatively early on, but Day's doing a nice job so far.
Despite being 2 levels behind earlier on, 7 versus 9, he's now cut that to only a 1 level deficit. He's been slowly just farming away. He doesn't have any deaths quite yet.
Oh, Homie with a nice look over there. Oh man, that was a nice angle. I thought he was going to be able to take, but SpaceStation opting not for it. Zapman always going for the ricochet, but it's Homiefe that's in trouble now. His angle's been found out. He got stunned inside, and that's PainDeViande taking that one away. Pain in a lot of trouble here. The team showing up, and Scary D takes down the support. Support for jungle so far. Grave gonna fall down as well. 2 for 1 in SpaceStation's face.
Scary D is not done yet, however. He connects onto the Mink form. He's gonna invade the speed buff to follow suit. Jigz is right around the corners. Andinster's clearing out the mid wave. They do have the damage there. MandoWarrior barely avoiding that dash from Jigz. And now with Andinster's rotation, they're getting the stuff after the stuff. And now Zapman, feeling like a Zapman that we used to seeing, actually traded out ulti for ulti and still got DayToRemeber at the red threshold.
Yeah, I mean, this is the aggressive, and this is also Zapman's meta, which is why as an analyst I was very excited for Zapman to come back, because Zapman's meta is let me 1v1, let me go for it. But for such a long time in Smite, I mean, that duo lane there was no such thing as a 1v1. You're sitting there with your support for so now. It's Hunter versus Hunter, and nobody's coming to save you. Zapman has seen the meta and gone, all right, time for me to play one more time.
He has the vision necessary underneath with a lot of action happening on right lane. This favors Zapman with this kind of level lead, with a slight gold lead that he has. And we're seeing, as a response to that kind of aggression, and a defensive item from DayToRemeber, Book of the Dead, trying to have more of an HP threshold so he can secure that rewind. But now, last game, it was a 16-minute Gold Fury that was secured by Gatekeepers. First time that it's being poked is around the 13-minute mark by SpaceStation.
Yeah, SpaceStation pulls the objective, but more importantly drops the ward and sees that SPL Gatekeepers do have the vision. So with Gatekeepers knowing what's going on to the Gold Fury, SpaceStation doesn't want to commit too hard onto the objective. Instead, was looking for a fight if anybody showed up a little prematurely. Now it's Zapman that could be in trouble, getting sandwiched by PainDeViande, but not a lot of hard control, just a little bit of a silence. Keep your eye on Jigz, making the rotation as well.
Just a little bit of damage. Zapman could respectfully take this damage without using the dive bomb and just heal it back with those Devo gloves. If Zap uses his dive bomb there, we're going to see an ultimate out of Pain.
All in from Jigz as the ultimate comes down. Grave already ready, relatively low. Dashing away, not going to happen as the ring bouncer Homiefe proves to be the stronger ability, taking down the enemy jungle. PainDeViande sandwiched again by SpaceStation Gaming players, but able to dash out of there no problem. Again, a small window leaves a big opportunity. SpaceStation looking for the 5-on-4 Gold Fury.
Remember, he needs to get there. Jigz missing that dash, forces the reset, and Pain's here as well. He's going to get silenced out, but not until DayToRemeber gets taken to the sky.
And they're going to land right into the field of Zapman Ultimate. That's number 6 for SpaceStation Gaming. Wonderful setup by the jungler. Heads-up play by the Hunter. And now SpaceStation Gaming still with the 5-on-4 as Grave has already respawned, not willing to take themselves to the objective just yet. Zapman low.
This is a win-loss situation for Gatekeepers. Sure, they got the Gold Fury reset for SpaceStation, but losing the Hunter now means Zapman's going to get free farm more on the left-hand side. Jigz now going to get a solo farm wave on the left before backing off, and this is going to create more of a disparity, and a Chronos needs to get to that late game. If he staggers a little bit too much, then this Hui's just going to run rampage.
At the same time, I think I think denying the objective is the more important macro picture. When you look at the gold differential between the two teams, you're stuttering between 2,000 and 3,000 gold. This gold fury blows that open to a 5,000 gold lead, and then all of a sudden things start to become a lot more difficult. This gold fury cannot go uncontested. Pain needs to get in there, but he's just a little bit too late. Andy is the last one to touch the gold fury. SpaceStation Gaming get credit for it, and right there's the 4,000 to 5,000 gold lead. Gatekeeper's gonna have a harder time here in the mid game.
This is why Ganesha is such a high priority pick for certain players. Whether you are Jigz or PainDeViande here, you're looking at that silence from the It was very difficult for Pain to really commit there, and even if the dash goes off for PainDeViande, the chances that he gets clipped by just a 0.1 second silence there stops the ability completely.
Yeah, and it's troublesome, and that's why we don't see the objective even contest. I would like to see more players from the Gatekeepers near that objective, but PainDeViande the only one local. And the Gold Fury goes to SpaceStation. That's after the fact, too. I mean, that's if SpaceStation take that Gold Fury while Grave is dead or then Pain is dead later on, or DayToRemeber, excuse me, I take less issue with that. That seems to be more of a mistake on Gatekeepers' part than a great play by SpaceStation.
It just seems that there was a bluff by SpaceStation that Gatekeepers kind of didn't respect.
Yeah.
Like, it was a bluff into a non-bluff. They were like, okay, let's see if we can get away with this to start.
Yeah,
you're not really fully committing to this anyway. We could see the whole eagle-eye bird view where SpaceStation were like, not fully committed, but the fact that it got that low, yeah, that was free.
Yeah, that's what we see that on Fire Giant a lot, where somebody just starts shooting the Fire Giant just to like start his animation so that players in the jungle see the effects particles and then show up. But if nobody shows up, I'm just taking this.
Oh no, ManRay accidentally fatty-fingered his Aegis. Graves gonna force to use that beads, but the patience from Homiefe taking Graves in the sky.
And then landing right down into Zapman Jigz territory. Z-Man gets the kill 2 for him so far in this contest. Now relatively low, Scary D in the middle of everything. MandoWarrior trying to force it. Surrounded by players, still gets rooted, and he'll be pushed out away. Really, really wanted that kill. Was the Gatekeeper solo laner. SpaceStation, they're up 5-4 as far as the players are concerned, but Gatekeepers don't seem to have gotten that memo. They're playing just as aggressive.
There's so many members low here on SpaceStation's side. Half health is andinster. He's wrapping around the speed buff. There's no vision for Gatekeepers to see this rotation. The root barely off the mark. If that connects onto Mando, it actually probably would have spread to DayToRemeber,
right.
And then we would have seen the crush follow-up. Very fortunate for Gatekeepers to avoid that ability. Look at Homiefe.
Yeah, here he is, just trying to deal with the players. Meanwhile, ManRay looking for the objective, dashing away his Jigz away from some of the poke that the soul brings. Fire Giant woken up, but nobody really wants that guy. Right now, an interesting situation here for the Gatekeepers. This is make or break time. The next time they slip, the game goes into a spiral, and SpaceStation Gaming are really in a position to go ahead and take it. So the Gatekeepers, I like that they're still playing aggressive, because 4,000 or 5,000 gold, absolutely something you can fight into. The Gatekeepers know that, and that's exactly what they're doing.
It's more about the experience. There's an 8,000 experience advantage for SpaceStation, and we're looking at the late game potential here for both of these teams. Andinster playing this Scylla is all devastation. If I'm looking at SpaceStation, I'm really fearful for Gatekeepers if it's going to progress towards that late game.
Brief pause here as our players get things situated. Very interesting, and I feel like it's an appropriate time for a pause. It's very like halfway through this game, and as I said before, right before we came to break, this is the point. This is where either team really takes off. Just as equally as I can see a team fight going in SpaceStation's favor and them getting a Fire Giant and spiraling out of control, I can see the same thing with SPL Gatekeepers across the way. Who do you think has the upper hand, ignoring the obvious 4,000 gold lead for SSG?
I think SpaceStation are absolutely in the driver's seat. They are controlling the game from here on out. It's very important for Gatekeepers to not falter too much. They can't take this kind of damage.
No, Grave is getting deleted here by Homiefe. No chance to survive. Make your time. Homiefe just does the dirty work. Big crush.
So accurate.
Forcing the ultimate out.
So accurate as andinster with these roots, setting up the play as Jigz is sitting on the left-hand side with Zapman, confirming this tier 1 tower. Left alone, DayToRemeber can't really hold this for too long, but it doesn't seem that SpaceStation are too interested in a tier 2. Instead, they're going to potentially look to collapse on some rotating members.
One of the big things that I think has been very powerful for SpaceStation has been not Zapman particularly the player, but the Homiefe selection. Having the Suns as a giant zoning mechanism, follow-up for Homiefe Ultimate. The Suns have been so important for what SpaceStation Gaming has been doing all game, whether it be objective secure, team fight control, or as I said, just follow-up to Homiefe nonsense. I think the choice of Hou-Yi was flawless.
And SpaceStation drafted the Hou-Yi very early on. It was Ganesha, Hou-Yi after GateKeepers selected the Chulainn, and that goes to show with so many hunters on the board that either Zapman or SpaceStation really wanted this pick for this team fight objective control.
And they've been doing it very, very nicely so far. Only one gold fury to talk about, but it's been a big one. DayToRemeber gonna get in trouble here, walking through the Jigz nonsense, and blown up! andinster literally crushing DayToRemeber before he can get that ultimate off. How do you fight a Chronos?
You just kill him before the rewind happens, and Scylla has the damage, sitting at level 16 to do so. Spear of Desolation with the pen boost, a lot of penetration for the little monster. And it's looking like a slippery slope for GateKeepers as they lose the second Gold Fury with SpaceStation controlling it by about 7, almost 8,000 gold.
No, again, with the Chronos in mind, good picks by SpaceStation Gaming. Although Chronos came rather late in the draft, didn't he?
Chronos was actually, yes, last pick alongside Amaterasu for GateKeepers, but it's the combination of the Soul and Chronos. I just don't see the synergy for GateKeepers in the mid or the late stages.
I mean, I don't mind the Chronos pick next to the Soul. The point I was trying to drive across is that picking Chronos into characters like Naja and Scylla is problematic for me. Those characters are going to kill you before your rewind gets off.
Which is why sometimes some Chronos players will opt for a very early Warlock sash into Book of the Dead, but DayToRemeber instead just going for straight up Book of the Dead. PainDeViande going to use that ulti defensively, then turn it around for a little bit of damage onto Zapman, forced to dash away. Ring bounces absolutely melting every single member from GateKeepers. DayToRemeber sitting in mid while the rest of his team is getting collapsed on.
MandoWarrior caught, he's got next to no protections between ring bounce and the Pillars of Dharma. That's going to bring him relatively low, but it's ManRay that strikes first. Zapman going down. MandoWarrior not dead from that Homiefe excursion.
That cannot happen for Zapman. His beats and Aegis were available. He didn't respect the damage coming out of ManRay whatsoever. This is a level 16 Soul that, sure, might not have the best setup in the world offensively, but if you're running at a Soul, that Supernova will melt you.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what we saw right there. PainDeViande wanting to continue the fight, which is a curious decision, but I think I like it overall. Take the 5-on-4, look for the aggression. There's no real objectives available outside of the Fire Giant, but that might be a little bit ambitious.
Good route just to stall GateKeepers a little bit further. Crush should clear out a big portion of the way, but this tier 1 tower is going to be foregone. SpaceStation don't want to defend this too much. Good routes from andinster, always on the mark.
Yeah, that's no surprise to me, totally. I mean, when we were watching andinster shift from the jungle to the mid lane, my question was never, is he going to hit his abilities? My question was, are they going to miss the jungle calls out of andinster? He's one of the more mechanically prowess gods in the game, putting number 10 on the board for SpaceStation. In the ult, looking for the reset. Meanwhile, Homiefe taking one out on the right-hand side. Ultimate dashed and weaved around by PainDeViande. He's going to dash out of there as well, but dash caught. Now a couple more basics should do it after the root.
MandoWarrior trying to survive 1v3. Gets off a lot of damage as Homiefe takes a spill. The bounce is not good for Zapman, but the knockup from Jigz will secure more in-hands from Hou-Yi. At the end of the day, a 4-for-1.
MandoWarrior, I think a lot of people just try to run there. MandoWarrior knows he's dead, takes down Homiefe with him. That's the right call. That's an impressive play.
That's the solo lane mentality. He's like, hey, listen, I tried to zone for as long as I possibly can. I did all this damage. God help me if I don't find a kill here.
Talking about andinster and how he's basically hitting everything. 15,000, almost 16K on the player damage charts here for the mid laner on SpaceStation Gaming. Again, making the transition to mid lane this year. And like I said, I was I personally was never concerned. I don't think a lot of people were concerned. Andy made a name for himself in the jungle because he hits everything. And in the mid lane, what does he do, Tully?
He just hits everything. But he does his signature andinster. Hey, did you see that route?
I did it. He missed it for the first time all game.
Caster's
Commentator's curse right there,
Not
folks.
again. Scary D gonna get slowed out, but Jigz is right there to help out.
Zapman in trouble
His
top
solo
side.
laner Grave is gonna be able to heal up and walk away. Root max distance, unfortunately, not gonna connect there. I saw it in your eyes.
Saw the ricochet?
Yeah.
Whew. Whew. Wow, a lot of action going on here. 25 on the clock, just barely. SpaceStation Gaming with Bad Luck 13. The SPL GateKeepers number 5. You can see here, everybody looking towards the Portal Demon. But nice little talk coming out there on the right side. And still trouble for the Gatekeepers as SpaceStation presses forward.
Jigz leading the charge with that silence. andinster eats a time rift over there, walking over a ward. Not having the sentry control is what dictates what kind of abilities are going to be thrown around corners. Good recognition from DayToRemeber. So SpaceStation positioning themselves away from this Portal Demon, but andinster can easily throw a crush over this wall.
And meanwhile, andinster is going to get hit by the ultimate out of Grave, which should keep Andy out of harm's way for the moment. But with Zapman dropping the Suns, that's going to confirm nothing as the Gatekeepers are able to take out the objective. Homiefe will confirm the kill onto the support, however, and DayToRemeber with the longest rewind in history.
Sprint being used by SpaceStation.
Nice catch.
Stun
He's
onto
dead.
DayToRemeber. There's no ultimate for you. It's a 5-on-3. The charge continues forward. Perfect ultimate from Jigz. Forces the escape from MandoWarrior, but the ultimate in response.
Scary D's got thorns up, but ManRay don't care. Down goes the solo lane to the hand of the mid, and MandoWarrior
The root is good. The crush is better.
Taken out.
What a play from andinster yet again, always on the mark. What was a 1-for-0 turns into a 3-for-1. SpaceStation, they don't confirm this Portal Demon, or steal it away rather, but this Fire Giant could be on the radar.
I don't know about that. SpaceStation have to worry about SPL getting here first. I don't think they're going to be able to do it themselves. ManRay is alive, and ManRay is sustained DPS on the soul. Level 17. Gatekeepers don't want to take the risk with just 3 players. With DayToRemeber up, maybe, but the portal's already gone. That's no longer a thought process.
andinster is sitting at level 19 with Rod of Tahuti. Maybe the power spike play is wait for that Scylla to be level 20, max out. I'm a monster, get an extra stack of that passive for magical power, and look for an in-between play from Fire Giant now with a Gold Fury.
That might be the call. I really liked Jigz' patience in that team fight. I think the fact that Jigz doesn't use his ultimate at all until the retreat underneath the tower makes or breaks a couple of those kills.
As long as you could position those 4 corners to cut off the pathing, it actually forced MandoWarrior to dash into his own tier 2 tower instead of using it to potentially displace somebody, such as a Hercules driving strike would do.
Yeah, and it's you know, that sort of decision making is what makes Jigz so high on my list. I love to watch him play, and I love to watch those sort of things come out. I mean, I think it's very easy just to toss the pillars down in the middle of a team fight. Everybody was kind of going nuts over there right by the Fire Giant. Very easily could have dropped it, but saving it for the must-have scenario. Fire Giant started by SSG, but again, might be a bait. Zapman tanking, down to 60 is the objective. SPL Gatekeeper showing up here, MandoWarrior showing his face the most, since he's perhaps the tankiest. 25% of the objective, and now everybody turning to look towards the opposition. It's going to be Grave, that's low, dashes forward. Zapman takes care of him before he can get to the back line, but andinster's being chased out by PainDeViande. Zapman's giving chase to PainDeViande, and Zapman takes him out before he gets there to the mid lane mage. Mando also giving chase to andinster while everybody else abandons ship and walks away from the objective. Scary D taking out ManRay. It's a 3, it's a 4 for none. DayToRemeber under the tier 2 tower on the right-hand side.
Even without andinster dying there. He's sitting at 5-0-9. This could be a D sign. Scary D is going to dive this tier 2 tower, forcing out the Aegis from DayToRemeber. But the bait was so good from SpaceStation. Getting that Fire Giant to about 25% health forces a reaction from GateKeepers. Zapman goes back up north, resets the Fire Giant. Grave, 2 ambitions, gets caught with the Root Crush combination. The Aegis and the Nemesis shield, not enough to really buy him enough time. I think his Aegis was also down for that encounter, and he wasn't able to really flank accordingly to get andinster. So PainDeViande tried to do so, but he overcommitted so far because of that sprint that was popped to save the mid laner.
Yeah, it was the right idea coming out from the GateKeepers, I think. Focus down andinster. And Grave dashes forward to get he uses his beads and he dashes forward to get out of the Root Crush combination and meets a crit from Zapman's bow. I mean, it was just damned if you do, damned if you don't, I think, for the GateKeepers jungler. But the choice was right to focus down Andy, I think. Unfortunately, he doesn't go down, and everybody sort of one by one following andinster winds up dying.
This is the problem with GateKeepers' composition. Their strategy is just too easy to read. It's just pure aggression. You have a Nemesis jungle, an Amaterasu support, then you have a Chulainn. Where is the setup for ManRay and DayToRemeber? Everyone from GateKeepers is holding W, trying to kill andinster.
Sure. Yeah, and then leaves everybody else alone. You see DayToRemeber just stuck under his tier 2 tower. Not because, I mean, sometimes the LMS, sometimes the last man standing is sort of criticized for not going too deep or not getting involved enough. DayToRemeber had no choice there. He's zoned out, and nobody can help him because they're too busy, like you said, just hitting W chasing andinster.
And with PainDeViande's aura movement speed, with him diving so far deep in the backline, he's not using that movement speed to save his backline on ManRay or DayToRemeber. These are the 2 gods that you need to keep alive. However, because of the position that SpaceStation are in this game, they can force that kind of a Fire Giant bait play and then just create a lot of chaos and havoc, discombobulating the position out of GateKeepers.
30-27 here on the clock as we're waiting for SSG's last push against the Phoenix. Left side will be the target. That's exactly where they'll line up here. GateKeepers, their defense, not as strong as their offense, I think it's easy to say.
It's going to be hard to try to go any forward. Ganesh drops the pillars. The Phoenix sitting at less than half health.
He's already dead. PainDeViande can't be the front line. Grave does take out Zapman, which was going to be a very good look, but DayToRemeber falls to the ground after Homiefe ult. Andy cleans that one up. It's a 4v3. No hunter for SSG, but they don't seem to mind.
They got the Phoenix. They got what they came for. Finding 2 picks for Zapman is a nice trade because you take away the high DPS of the Chronos late game and the pure aggression out of PainDeViande playing this Amaterasu, having still a decent amount of damage on Homiefe. As long as he's sitting on this Phoenix, that mid one will fall right after MandoWarrior fell.
It's the second time in 2 games that we've really seen that sort of play at a MandoWarrior. I think he overestimates how tanky he is in the late game.
It seems to me that way as well. He even opted to go for a Spirit's Robe, trying to absorb some of these CCs between the Naja stun, as well as the Scylla Root Crush combination. But at this late in the game, level 20 Scylla, almost filled build. You're not going to survive for very long.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a powerful build as well. Spear of Dezo alongside the Bancroft talent, and then, of course, Tahuti and some pen. Nasty stuff coming out from andinster. That's why he's number 2 on the player damage. Scary D taking that away from him in the later stages of this game.
It's fake damage.
Fake damage?
Fake damage.
Solo lane poke?
Solo lane poke. Not really, though. Scary D has been making an impact in the later stages as well. He even opted for a very aggressive Shen size, trying to chase down some members, and that's also going to help eliminate some of the dive potential from GateKeepers. Scary D can just sit back with his backline, allow the dive to happen from Grave and PainDeViande, and just chip them away.
I love the last item Chin Sai out of a lot of the solo laners, especially characters like Erlang Shen, who is particularly basic attack based, excuse me. It just enables him, look, I'm tanky enough, I buy the Chin Sai late game, so if you do try to tussle, I'm just going to win virtually every fight, because it's an item that really deals with tanky frontliners like MandoWarrior.
Diving into the right side, DayToRemeber being used. PainDeViande trying to do what he can. He's gonna have to try to retreat. Sun's cutting off the left as DayToRemeber cuts off the right. Right side Phoenix already singing about half health. Great knockup from MandoWarrior, but it's just not enough to hold this Phoenix.
Beautiful taunt coming out from Scary D. That's gonna bring players low enough to push them out of the team fight. 1, 2, 3. That's the Phoenixes that are down, and SpaceStation Gaming moving towards the middle lane. Moving towards the jungle, actually. They want to retreat before they commit.
Fire Giant gonna respawn in 30 seconds. It could be a play where SpaceStation are trying to bait Gatekeepers out of their own Titan room. If they can find 1 or 2 picks, they're gonna cleanly get this Titan, or they're gonna wait for more fire minion waves to trickle down these lanes at the same time, and then just collapse on every angle.
That's the call. It's about the fire minions, the regular minions even, just looking for players to come on in. PainDeViande pushing up a little far. Jigz catches him, and Zapman just piling basics into him. Number 24 for PainDeViande as he goes down. Zapman on the good side. MandoWarrior pushed out. Grave pushed out the hard way. 25 in the kill column. SpaceStation looking to clean up before they look for the objective. And again, Zapman and Andy on a tear. 8-0 and 11 for the mid lane Scylla. Homiefe goes into the fountain looking for ManRay. Zapman cleans him up.
It was just all swag coming out of Homiefe there. That's just because he can, honestly. SpaceStation walk away with a 2-0. Great bounce back after last week's performance of United.
Andinster 8-0 and 12, Zapman 10-2 and 9. That's the type of performances that you need off of your 2 main carries. I say main carry, but Homiefe looks like he's coming back. This looks like the team that we expected it to be, and Homiefe just another part of this team. What a performance by SSG.
You know, they are who we thought they were. SpaceStation Gaming week 2, totally different team than week number 1. Now getting 3 points. It's not the best start that they would have probably won, so I'm sure they would have won, you know, 1 or both games, obviously, against United. Sure. But better late than never. What a performance out of Andinster.
And it's still only week 2. A little bit early here as well. Many weeks to go. Many more games today to come as well. Up next, ALG versus Luminosity Gaming. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.